Hello, I'm Amanda Bradbury, and I wanted to talk to you about the astrology of September, and particularly the new moon and the full moon. So we're in Virgo time at the moment. So Virgo is a sign of cleansing, purification. It's also to do with health. And it's also to do with digesting. So it's like digesting on a physical level, but also an emotional level and a mental and spiritual level even. So it's also about kind of making sense of what's happening. And it's very much the healing power of nature. So we have the full moon, which is coming up on Tuesday the 7th at 1:51 a.m. And in this chart, we have Ceres is sitting on the north node of the chart, and they're both in Gemini. And so this is also really pointing to the energy of nurturing as well, and nurturing through connection and through information. And it brings in a lightness as well. It brings in an emphasis on the goddess, the divine feminine energy, and a little bit like a butterfly touch. And this new moon has a wonderful trine to Uranus. So this brings in the energy of change, of newness, of carving out our own niche, our own destiny. It's also about discernment and finding solutions as well. This can be about breakthroughs, but Virgo is always about keeping things simple. So it's a bit like getting to the heart of the matter. And it's important not to overthink or to worry. And then also we have two aspects involving Venus, which is the planet to do with relationships. So first of all, we have a square to Pluto. And so this is about letting go of the relationships that perhaps leave us feeling a bit controlled or a bit trapped. It's also about becoming aware of patterns of manipulation or coercion, maybe in a relationship. And the relationship could be with an individual, but it could also be with a company or an organization. And then the other link with Venus is that we have a flowing aspect between Venus and Jupiter. And so this is very beautiful. We've got Venus in Libra, which is a very peaceful energy. It's very much about harmony and togetherness and forming this trine to Jupiter. There's openness, there's new opportunities opening up in relationships. And so it's about allowing the new to blossom, both in our existing relationships and in new relationships as well. Now, also at the new moon, there's an opposition between the sun and the moon and Neptune. It's quite wide, but this brings in some, almost like a feeling of sort of shifting sands, of not quite knowing, maybe like a lack of confidence. Maybe some disillusionment or feeling a bit discouraged. And we've also just had the square between Eris and Pluto at the end of August. This is the fourth of 5 squares. And this is really strong energy. It's very deep, it's very heartfelt, it's very quite angry. And so it's very much this energy of outrage and pushback. And the 5th square will be in October. So with the sun moon opposite Neptune, which can bring in this feeling of fluidity, there can almost be this feeling of the goalposts keep being moved. And I thought this was the situation, but now it's something different. But we can use this energy in a positive way ourselves, because we can decide how we would like to change our own reality. You know, what boundaries would we like to set for ourselves? And it's also about, in a way, being able to kind of merge and blend and flow through any restrictions that we might feel around us, which can be an expression of the Virgo energy. So then we have the full moon. Now this happens on the 21st of September. So in London, it's early in the morning at 54 minutes after midnight. So in the middle of the night. And in this chart, we have the sun and the moon are opposite each other, as they always would be at a full moon, at 28 degrees. And so here we have the moon in Pisces is right at the top of the chart. It's conjunct the midheaven, and the moon in Pisces is moving on from Neptune. So there could be a feeling of the fog of misinformation is clearing. We're moving on from a confused situation. However, the Sabian symbol or image for this degree of the zodiac, where the moon is, the lower expression of the Sabian symbol is Cassandra, prophetess of doom. So there could be a tendency to almost get a bit overwhelmed by information, or almost not be able to see a way out of a certain situation. So if we look at the higher Sabian symbol, or the second image that is given, the symbol is a scientist is making tests by means of spectrum analysis. And so this brings in a feeling of perhaps more scientific, real science being made available in the mainstream. And it also brings in the energy of healing through color, because it talks about the spectrum. So this is the work of nature. This is the rainbow. So it could suggest some kind of fracture or challenge. But then if we're able to survive the tests, it leads to a widening of perception and vision. And at this full moon, we have a very beautiful connection between Mercury in Libra and Jupiter. And so this is like opening our mind. It's like finding a sense of balance. It's about being able to weigh things up and make an impartial, fair decision. It's really about honoring ourselves. So it's like finding a way through, and also finding a sense of peace. Libra is very much about the energy of the dove. And I'm really feeling the energy of green at this time. So it's partly needing to connect with the energy of nature. It's also about finding balance. And also I feel it is about boundaries as well. So it's about setting boundaries and perhaps retreating. You know, those of us who are very sensitive are really feeling what's going on in the world. And so by wearing green, by surrounding ourselves with green, it's easier to kind of cope with these slightly kind of chaotic energies. So it's going to be a very intense time around this full moon. Could be quite emotional. And then we have this year, the equinox, the autumn equinox is on the following day, on the 22nd. So that in a way brings in more of a feeling of heightened energy and a gateway. And so it's energy for us to bring in the positive, to bring in what it is we want. It's like our creator energy, but being aware at the same time that sometimes these gateways or times of heightened energy can also, in a way, almost be a bit hijacked, or other things can happen that throw us off. So we need to just be aware of this and be able to just be a bit detached from that, so that we're able to hold our frequency and our vibration and our sense of hope and positivity. So we need to be able to build on our creator consciousness, and to know that consciousness is very malleable as well. And so that we really can move through boundaries and step into our magical power. And to know also that the more that the dark shows itself, the more that the light comes in. So in the long term, we have Pluto moving through Capricorn. And this is going to be there for the next couple of years. And this is actually about the collapse of the old order and the collapse of corrupt structures. And there's something that's quite interesting about the charts for these, the new moon and the full moon in September, because they both have the same ascendant in the chart, which is kind of very unusual. So they're both at 25 degrees of Cancer. And so there were a couple of things that one could say about that. And the first is that both charts have got Pluto in Capricorn in the part of the chart that is to do with the other, to do with who we meet in relationships. So if we were looking at this chart as a person, we would think this person is meeting a figure who is a little controlling, a little dominating, who is pushing their weight to great an extent. And, you know, this individual needs to take care of themselves, to nurture themselves, and to take a step back from this controlling figure in their lives. And then the other thing that I find interesting is that the Sabian symbol for this degree of the zodiac is actually all about star formations and phenomena in the dark night sky, like meteorites and shooting stars. So this is interesting. So it's almost like a time to put our consciousness outwards, to look at the night sky, to connect with, you know, higher meaning. What is this all about? To take a step back and, you know, trust in the wonder of the universe and a higher purpose to events. So to summarize, I feel this is a time for us to take back our lives on all levels. So free will is connected to responsibility, and each of us are responsible for our own lives. And each of us is going through a very deep, transformative journey to take back our power and reclaim our soul. And this is something we can only do for ourselves. We can be guided, we can be given information, but when it really comes down to it, this is a personal decision for each of us. So I'd like to send you all lots of love and to wish you a happy September. And if you'd like to find out more about astrology, about courses or workshops, or to have a personal consultation with me, you can find out more on my website, which is amandabradbury.com. Thank you.